Okay, we're ready.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Forest Grove School District's Board of Directors meeting at 5:30 sharp. I will do a roll call. Brad Vafaro,
I'm here.
Narcy,
Here.
Sonia is not here tonight.
Sonia is here.
Anya's here.
Oh, she is. Oh, okay. Where did I see that she wasn't? Oh, well, I'm glad you're here, Sonia. Sorry. Mark Everett and Val are not here tonight. They're absent. Okay. Please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I'd like to do a short brief. I didn't run it by you, Kathy or Dave, but a pause for 1 minute for Ralph Brown and his family. He was a wonderful community member, did many wonderful things for the students of Hillsborough and Forest Grove, and also Ray Ginasani. He was a counselor at Forest Grove High School, terrific guy, did so much counseling, worked for the Habitat for Habitat and also the Chamber of Commerce, and two really good leaders. So just a short pause, please, and think of their families. Thank you. We will have introductions of audience and staff tonight. I'm Kate Grandusky, school board member.
Brad DeFaro, school board member.
Narsa Rodriguez, school board member.
John O'Neill, assistant superintendent.
David Warner, communications.
Eileen Clute, business.
Kevin Areen, human resources.
Enrique Piñon, technology department.
Kim Scher, director of student services.
Dave Parker, superintendent. We went through the whole thing today.
Mark Hughes, maintenance, facilities, custodial, grounds.
Is that everyone?
That's it.
Okay, great. Can I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second? I'll second it. Discussion? Okay, Brad,
Yes.
Narcy,
Yes.
and I'm a yes also. A motion is approved for tonight's agenda. Correspondence and celebrations. Brad, Dave, is that you?
That's me. Tonight, I've received a letter from Juliana Kenfield, PhD. She's the Title I 1C migrant education specialist from the ODE. And it's addressed regarding our migrant program and our staff members. So I want to read it. Dear Superintendent Parker, the Oregon Department of Education wishes to congratulate the Forest Grove School District for their contribution at the National Association of State Directors of Migrant Education annual conference this spring 2022. It was a pleasure to listen to Dr. Osvaldo Garcia Contreras, Candy Renfro, Veronica Guerrero, Martha Ochoa, and Wairo Sun at the workshop entitled Planning and Executing an Effective Migrant Summer Program, the Forest Grove School District Summer Skills Academy model. Their workshop was engaging, thoughtful, and well received by the audience. The Forest Grove workshop was so popular, it was offered twice and it drew packed audiences on both occasions. The Forest Grove session stood out as one of the most interactive sessions at the NAS, their conference, fostering lively discussions among the diverse audience of teachers, community members, and administrators from across the United States. The workshop provided the audience with opportunities to reflect on their own practice and exchange ideas with their colleagues. The workshop also provided the audience with learning opportunities to deepen their awareness and understanding of the social, political, context surrounding engagement with equity practices in education. The Forest Grove team illustrated actionable steps towards summer programming in relation to their strategic regional migrant education goals. Each member of the Forest Grove team contributed in important ways to the session's success. For instance, Osvaldo's facilitated hands-on activity allowed the audience to share with their peers their own practices for summer programming. He was an excellent active listener and able to foster interstate bonding with a diverse audience. Candy shared the nuances of the summer skills activity to serve migratory students, children, culturally and linguistically diverse students, combining academic and non-academic support for these students. Veronica shared with enthusiasm the new migrant preschool program for our youngest migratory kids. On behalf of the migrant education team at the Oregon Department of Education, we are grateful for your commitment to providing high quality, culturally responsive summer programming for multilingual and migratory children. And for sharing your passion, knowledge, and experience with the national migrant education community. And it's signed Juliana Kenfield. Again, just wanted to highlight the work that our migrant staff is doing and kind of them going to the national conference and presenting on it, I think was great. Great exposure for us and their program. So wanted to just say congratulations to everyone involved there, but it's Oz, Veronica, Candy, Martha, and Wyro.
Thank you, Dave. That was really wonderful. We just have a great staff that's doing great work. Let's move on to the student representative report. Sonia?
Okay, so this past week we had our first like all school assembly for the first time in like a lot of years. It was pretty cool. It was like a sports recognition assembly, and this year we did like really well when it comes to sports. Like our girls wrestling team, they have added like a whole like state championship banner to the gym and everything. It was really cool, and there was like a lot of awards given out to all of them. So good job to them. We also this past weekend had some people from track and field go to state, which is pretty cool. We've also had like AP testing, so a bunch of people have like missing school or like going to do that. And then this week we have a Renaissance Senior Appreciation Rack Week, and I've mentioned it before, but our community closet, which has held a couple of clothing drives throughout the year, we're finally like starting to distribute that clothing. So on Wednesday, after school from 3:30 to 5, our outreach team is hosting a clothing swap. So you can come in and like you can like either like donate clothes or like take some clothes. That's pretty cool. If you want to stop by, it's open to families. And then in the future, in like a week or so, we're gonna have graduation, and then this week we have senior sunset on Friday. So there's like a bunch of stuff going on for seniors and preparing for graduation. And then in terms of just like the climate, I think a lot of people are just excited for school to be over soon. It's only like a month or so left. I mean, there's definitely like some tests that are coming up, like finals, which I think people are kind of like, oh, like I have to get all this stuff done for this one class or something. But I'd say people are definitely looking forward to the summer, and that's what I have.
Thank you, Sonia. Any questions for Sonia? Okay, we will move on. Dave, you calendar notes, recognition, superintendent report.
So I've actually, again, as school returns to normal, I've got quite a few things to talk about today. We're going to start with COVID because that's always kind of at the top. We're continuing to hold steady on our COVID counts. We've been averaging for students between 10 and 25 students having COVID for the last 3 weeks, and it's just been kind of hanging in there. For staff, we're about between 6 and 10 staff members sick over the last 3 weeks, every day. So it's interesting that it doesn't seem to be going down and it doesn't seem to be going up. We're holding kind of steady with this right now. We're focused on the last 18 days of school. Those are the actual numbers. So right now, I'm not expecting any changes in policies or procedure. I think everybody's really just focused on kind of getting to graduation, getting to that last day of school, and regrouping over the summer. FFA banquet last Friday, May 20th, the high school held their annual spring banquet. Attendees included FFA student members, club officers, parents, community members, FFA alumni, and high school and district office administrators. It's a terrific event. It featured an outstanding catered dinner by our own culinary arts teacher, Andrea Leffler. Several FFA officers, club members, and FFA alumni received awards for their hard work. Congratulations to the FFA chapter and to Jamie Dyke and Corey Shackle for their kind of hard work and a fun evening. FFA, again, the plant sale, spring's in the air, and this year's FFA plant sale was a huge success. Beautiful flowers, plants, hanging baskets were for sale, and district staff and community members turned out en masse to purchase them. The plants were produced by the Exploring Plants and Introduction to Horticulture classes that worked hard in producing these. The plant sale, as well as the sales from the city's hanging baskets, will top over $57,000 is what they brought in this year. Amazing. Congratulations to Jamie Dyke and Shelby Krieger, our student greenhouse manager, for another successful plant sale. Great job keeping that tradition going. This last Saturday night, we had the Dilly Art Night and Auction fundraiser. They kicked off an online art auction fundraiser with a showcase of student artwork baskets and student art that was all available for auction. The evening entailed a multitude of fun activities in the Dilly Gymnasium. The event enjoyed a strong turnout from Dilly parents, staff, and community members. People still wishing to participate in the online auction can do so at the Dilly Elementary website. It'll be open till May 28th. Unified Play this past Saturday, the Unified Players put on a play called Beautiful City under the direction of John Annenberg in the Forest Grove High School auditorium. We had several of our teammates and colleagues who attended, said it was just a wonderful. They were laughing from the beginning to the end. So again, just a great job by them. And then lastly, we wanted to just, it's a little unusual, but we want to publicly recognize and give a superstar award to the entire Forest Grove School District staff. All of our instructional staff, our support staff, our counselors, school and district administrators, and all contracted service employees have worked hard this year to make school happen for our students. This year has proven to be the most challenging year for both students and staff as we return to in-person instruction. While returning to in-person learning was definitely desirable over distance learning, it's been challenging for students and staff as we've experienced high student and staff absences, subs shortages, staff shortages, and ultimately staff turnover. This year, we've hired over 200 staff members out of our 700 plus staff members. We've obtained nearly 60 substitute licenses for our own classified staff, and we still have unfilled positions. So despite these challenges, students continue to attend classes, participate in school activities and athletics and events, thanks to the unwavering support of our district staff. So our sincere thanks and appreciation to everyone for making it happen this year. So we look forward to kind of the strong end of the school year and a well-deserved summer break to everybody. And those are the comments today.
Thank you, Dave. We will move on to unscheduled public appearances. Kathy, do we have any unscheduled public appearances?
No, we do not.
Okay, then I'm not going to read this text since we don't. I'm going to move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is made up of routine, non-controversial items to be voted on under one motion. Are there any items within the consent items a board member or the superintendent wishes to discuss separately? Okay, if not, I'm going to do a roll call. Brad
We need a
Bafaro.
motion.
I'll make the motion.
Oh,
I'll make
okay,
the
that's
motion.
right. Great.
I move
Okay,
that we accept the consent
right.
agenda as written.
I second.
Thank you. Discussion. Okay, we'll do a roll vote. Brad,
Yes.
Narcy,
Yes.
and I'm a yes also. The first presentation tonight is the demographic study, and that will be Eileen.
Thank you, Kate. Let's see. All right, so tonight we have the updated demographic study from Portland State University's Population Research Center. We try to complete one of these every few years so that we can continue to monitor enrollment projections and the impact to our facilities and capacity. The study considers multiple factors when projecting our long-range enrollment forecast, which includes everything from historical enrollment trends, net migration, census data, birth rates, local comparables to other districts, and other local demographic information for us. Overall, our district encompasses the cities of Forest Grove, most of Cornelius, and some unincorporated areas within Washington County, including Gales Creek and Dilley. From the 10 years between 2010 to 2020, our population grew about 1.6% overall, whereas City of Forest Grove grew 2.2%, and City of Cornelius only grew up 0.9%. And this is overall population within our communities. And then our community grew at a faster rate overall of 1.6% as compared to our other local counterpoints of Washington County as a whole and the Portland, Vancouver metro area. They only grew 1.3 and 1.2%. So we had slightly more growth. Birth rates is a big contributing factor for our projections for enrollment going into the next 10 years. And you can see from here, we had a high of 565 for a number of births in our community. And back then it was about 525 births per year on average. Whereas over the last several years, we've continued to see a decline. So now we're seeing around 418, 429, an overall average of 417. So we're looking at from back in 2001 to 2006 to now, we've dropped almost 100 births per year on average for our communities. Between 2010 and 2020, our community added over 1,600 new housing units based on the most recent census. Only 39% of those households or households in our community as a whole had children under the age of 18. So we're seeing a slight decrease in the number of houses that have students, but at the same time, we're seeing an overall increase in the number of people per house. This shows both two different ways of the number of housing units that have been built in our area, in our attendance area over the last 2017 to 21. We have single family units and multifamily units, apartment complexes, and most of the growth has been in the Cornelius boundary. Much of that is that South Hillsborough, South Cornelius, right on the Hillsborough border development that came in. And then we have other big developments in Harvey Clark, Joseph Gale, Fern Hill had a multifamily units come in, and then more apartment complex is in the Joseph Gale boundaries. These ones are new that have permits in, are in process, or have completed it since 2017 to 21. But if we look at the ones that are nearly completed, they're in process of construction right now, or the construction hasn't begun and there are potential upcoming developments. Most of those developments are coming into the Cornelius and our Harvey Clark attendance boundaries. The other ones have smaller units coming in, but really those are the two that'll be mostly impacted by the future developments. This Belfray for Harvey Clark, which has 36 units, and then the Plaza Los Amigos for Cornelius has 113 units. Those are the only two that I'm aware of that are for low income or affordable housing. So most of the time, the affordable housing units that are multi-bedroom, so 2 to 3 bedrooms, bring more students into our district than a 2 to 3 bedroom market rate apartment or house. Those typically don't bring as many students into the community for us. And then all of these, just a quick, all of these housing developments are considered and accounted for the growth projections that I'll show here in a minute. So all of these ones are included in that demographic study. We do have, I went over some of this in the last one, sorry. I think I went over all of this in the last slide. Our enrollment trends over the last several years, we peaked back in 2010 and 11 at 6193 students. And then you can see we kind of stayed right there in that 6,000 range. COVID hit, and now we're trying to come out of COVID, that enrollment loss from COVID. This shows by grade band. So you have in gray the K4s, yellow is the 5-6, blue is the 7-8. And then the high school is in green. And so you can see how each one of those have changed over time. Lastly, before showing the future enrollment projections, I wanted to show how our enrollment is changing in comparison to a couple of our local counterparts. These are the ones that Charles with PSU utilized to compare us to as other close Washington County districts and how they have changed. Our enrollment change from 2010-11 to 2021 dropped by 8%, whereas Beaverton remained consistent for the 10 years. Hillsborough lost 7% overall, and Tigard Tualatin lost 7%. But if we're looking at our population change as compared to the enrollment change, our community as a whole has grown 18% over that period, whereas Beaverton only grew 14% and Hillsborough and Tigard grew 12%. So we're growing at a much faster rate, but we have lost students, and most of that loss is in that COVID pandemic impact. So here's the enrollment projections, and this goes through 31-32. And what it has is the lighter color lines in the back. That's the last demographic study that we had completed. And when PSU does a demographic study, we always get a low, a medium, and a high projection. Typically, we trend right at the medium, and that's where we budget for and do our community growth and planning for capacity is based on that, that middle growth line. However, with this new growth or our new projections since the COVID pandemic, the high line is barely going to meet up with the prior low projection. And overall, even if we do the middle line, we are still looking at a continual decline in enrollment to just below 5,600 students over the next 10 or so years. So we are not seeing a significant increase, and this all includes all of those developments that we had gone over a couple of slides ago. So it's a combination of people moving into our communities without kids under the age of 18, people having less kids, Our birth rates are going down. The affordable housing, a lot of the housing in the area is not necessarily affordable for families with multi-kids. So there's a lot of factors contributing into that. This just has that same projection, low, medium, and high projection, but broken out by our different groups. K4 enrollment projections, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 12. So we can see how each one of those are anticipated to fluctuate over the next 10 years. And then now what we like to do is look at how this demographic study impacts our long-range facilities planning and how, based on these enrollment projections, what our building capacities are going to be at the end of this. So that 2033 timeline for figuring out what the building capacities are. We look at number of classrooms in each building, and then we look at an average number of students per classroom. K4 is at 23-1, 5, 6 is at 25-1, 7, 8 at 30-1, and 9, 12 at 30-1. And these are the numbers that we use in the last long-range facility plan. So for consistency, we are continuing to utilize the same numbers to look at our capacity. And I had Malum update the graph from the last long-range facility plan that we went through and put these new enrollment projections in. So what does our building capacities look like at the end of 2033, 2034 with the new demographic study? The solid line is the building capacity as fixed capacity, permanent capacity. And then the dotted line is what the building capacity is with temporary capacity, our portables, since those are in place right now and we're utilizing them. So that dotted line is temporary building capacity on top of the permanent building capacity. Overall, at the end of 2033, 2034, utilizing the middle range projection, we would be slightly above for Cornelius, slightly above capacity for Echo Shaw, and slightly above capacity for Dilley. The other ones would maintain within their current capacities. So there would need to be, if no additional capacity in the district happened, there would need to be slight shifts.
Do you mean boundary changes, Eileen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Secondary buildings, we're looking pretty good for capacity at all three, Tom McCall, Neil Armstrong, and Forest Grove High School. So there doesn't seem to be any issues with those.
Eileen, just a quick question. So what is the forecasted length of life of those portables? I guess that would be a question I would have. I know we put them in, they were used from Beaverton, but how long would we anticipate them lasting?
They've all been, at least the new ones, they're used buildings, but we've renovated them pretty significantly. So I would see them lasting quite a while, actually. There's one building at Cornelius that's old and we've had it for a long time. That one would be the one that would need either replacement or sufficient maintenance to it.
Okay, thanks.
You've identified the building that's of, really it's Cornelius is the building that we're over the built capacity and we're over the portable capacity slightly, but that's certainly in this new demographic study, that's certainly the building we need to be paying attention to.
This is another table from the demographic study that I wanted to pull out and just kind of show. It's just the same information, just a different view of it. Overall, when we're looking at our facilities permanent capacity for elementary schools at the end of 2033, 2034, we would be at 100% at capacity for all of our elementary schools. So we would need a little bit of support in being able to maintain the low class sizes and still have the space to do so. When we look at having the portables in there, we're at 93% capacity. I would typically want to see that, I think, a little bit lower than that, because bodies don't always fit perfectly in 23-to-1 or 24-to-1. You have bubbles and you have high points and low points. And so that would be really maxing out the building's capacity at that, even with the portable capacity in here. Whereas our Tomahawk or middle Neil Armstrong and high school are between 60 and 80% capacity, which should be sufficient at that mid-range. And then that's all I have for a presentation for tonight. There's a copy of the full demographic study with all of the details. It breaks it down by building on the projections and grade level. That was all in the board packet. So if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
I was wondering, Eileen, about the exit of students and families from Portland and its impact because of affordability for housing and other issues that are happening in the inner city in Portland. Are we seeing an exit, to Beaverton, Hillsborough, and Forest Grove? I didn't see it when I read the report. I didn't see it in the report.
We're seeing a net migration into our community, but it's not necessarily families of multi-students, and it's mostly going to be just the price point of a lot of our housing it doesn't meet the needs of multi-families. So a lot of the people coming into our community are people that have kids that have already gone through school or don't have kids yet, but could potentially be having kids in the system at some point. But we're not really seeing a net migration because of the cost of housing.
Okay. And the other question I had is that the upcoming developments in the Harvey Clark area, I think it was like something like 517 units. And we anticipate, because of the high cost of those homes, that we won't really see children from those units, correct? Not very many students.
Correct. It won't bring very many students. If we're looking at the new housing all north of David Hill that's come in the last 5 or so years, there's not very many kids in those neighborhoods. So it's not going to have as much of an impact on our boundaries and capacities with the number of houses coming in.
So because I was looking at those numbers and thinking, wow, Harvey Clark would be really there'd be a real increase in students at Harvey Clark. And I think, is Harvey Clark at capacity now or just below, a little bit below?
Let's see. Harvey Clark right now is at 400 students.
Okay.
And so it's projected to go up to 455.
Okay.
So it still has quite a bit of room, considering it'll be at capacity with permanent capacity, but then we still have that portable over there.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Eileen, I have a question. Thank you for this report. It's very educational. Do we know how many of is there a projection for, or do we know at this point, the amount of homeless children or families and what impact that has in our school? I also know there's a Centro Cultural. I serve on their board, and they are currently purchase a hotel in Cornelius for a transitional house for those that have home insecurities. So I'm just wondering about that particular data.
I can handle that if you want, Eileen.
Yeah.
The McKinney-Vento is the program that we have that kind of manages our homeless students, and it changes throughout the year. Last time I looked, we were right around 100 students who were in a homeless qualified for McKinney-Vento, and that could be living in someone else's home, or it could be actually homeless. So David Perot does most of, he's our McKinney-Vento advocate and works with families, and specifically the ones you're talking about in the hotel and all of those other places. He's working with families to provide resources and then ensure that they still get their schooling. In a homeless situation, the students get to stay in their home school, wherever that is. So even if those students moved out to Beaverton, if they were our students before, then they would still receive transportation. Eileen knows a little more about the transportation parts of this, but that's kind of where the homeless students are, how we work with them, and about how many of them we have. I don't know, Eileen, did I leave out anything that's?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Brad?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Eileen, how often do we have this study done? I mean, if things fluctuate in the next year or two, it'd be nice to be able to come back in 2 years and say, and look at it again, where if we're in the middle or we're closer to the high, or to make some adjustments. But how often do we do this?
We do this study every 2 to 3 years. Once we decide that we want to go ahead and do this study, it takes almost a year to get on the docket. So it's kind of, you have to be pre-planning that and when you want to do it. So we can definitely, if enrollment is, if we're starting to see it shift off the middle line or low line and go towards the high, then that's when we would definitely want to do another study, or seeing like a lot more development happening or a change in what type of housing can be brought in, then we would want to do another study. But again, it takes about a year.
I think that, yeah. I would say that if things start to change like that, that's probably a pretty good idea to start working toward another study. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions for Eileen? Thank you, Eileen. That was really informative. I really appreciate reading that. So you're up again with an action item on the 2021-2022 supplement budget resolution.
Right. Let me grab that. Okay. So tonight we have a supplemental budget resolution for our special revenue funds, or our 200 level funds. This amendment, this amendment's related to the elementary and secondary emergency relief funds, the ESSER funds, and the HVAC improvements that we've been bringing over the last several months. Last spring during budget season, we set the appropriations for these funds to be spent under support services, the 2000 function level. However, with doing HVAC replacements and HVAC major improvements, these need to really be classified under the 4000 function under facilities acquisition and construction. And so the supplemental budget resolution would move appropriation of $675,000 from support services appropriation level to the facilities acquisition and construction appropriation level.
Any questions for Eileen? Okay, I will make a motion. I move to approve the supplemental budget resolution 21-22R:03 as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? I'll do a roll call vote. Brad?
Yes.
Narcy?
Yes.
And I'm a yes also. Motion passes. The next action item is the CIMA service MOU, and that's John O'Neill.
Good evening. So tonight before you is our annual CIMA MOU for translation interpretation services for the 22-23 school year. This amount requested does not include an increase. We're going to be well within probably the 116,000 right now that we've projected for this year. And we're estimating that same amount for the 22-23 school year due to the fact that we've been with them since 2004, 2006. It's one of those, we go back a long time with SEMA. They are not raising the rates for our district, which is great. So the MOU is there for your review, and we are requesting board approval tonight.
Okay, any questions for John? Okay, I'll make the motion. I move to approve the CIMA service MOU for $116,000 for the 2022-2023 school year. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All right, we will do a roll call vote. Narcy,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
and I'm a yes also. Motion is carried. The next action item is the Odyssey Ware software purchase. John, that's you again.
Yes, ma'am. So we bring before you again the annual subscription price of $75,000. Odyssey Ware provides our online curriculum platform or base for our staff at NAMS, Forest Grove High School, Calc, and Oak Grove Academy. What's been really essential is our teachers, parents, and students and administrators are familiar with this software, and this has been a vital component of our online programming for multiple years. The great thing about the Odyssey Ware program is that we have 24/7 access for up to the number of students we've contracted at any given time, which is amazing. Other software programs, it's student by student contract. And if they move out of the district, we lose that and we have to buy a replacement. So again, great news, they have not increased the cost for us for this upcoming year. So district administration is asking approval for $75,000 for the 22-23 school year.
Any questions for John? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the Odyssey Ware software subscription?
So moved.
Second,
Narsa will second.
discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Narcy,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
and I'm a yes also. The motion has passed. The
Thank you.
next item up. Yeah, thank you, John. The next item up for action is the contracted staffing services, and Kim will present.
Good evening. Back again to talk about speech language pathologists. You all know that we've had a challenge in recruiting and hiring speech pathologists. We have 3 positions open for the next school year. We posted the position early January, and I believe we received 1 application for that. We've had a challenge trying to recruit folks. We are working with Human Resources and Cabinet and our teachers union to kind of build in some incentive. We're still working on that. So I'm coming for you tonight because we do have the opportunity to continue with qualified contracted service agencies. And so what we want to do is take the 3.0 currently budgeted vacant licensed speech paths, and we would actually fill that with 2.74 FTE. When we're using agencies, we kind of go down to the real granular level because we're paying additional costs. It's currently money that's already budgeted for that FTE, but it would be used, it would be transferred into contracted agency costs like we've been doing this year. Our plan is to continue to try and build in some recruitment and reopen the position at some point here soon. So in the event that we did find somebody permanent, we would not contract and we would convert those back to FTE.
Questions for Kim? Narcy?
Kim, I have a question, and this has probably been thought out about, but I know that many districts, in particular Forest Grove and others, when there's a shortage of teachers, the school districts will try to grow their own. So is there any conversation about looking at our current teachers and staff that might be interested in getting a speech pathologist degree is in particular, of course, I have a bias, and Pacific is just right down the street.
We have those conversations every year, and we're constantly asking staff, especially those staff we see a real quality in. We haven't had a whole lot of people interested in that. We did have one employee that was interested, but she took a leave to go to school, and I'm not sure where she's at with that. But a lot of what we're running into right now is that there's a lot of competition in the market for contracted agencies and medical facilities. So they're out, basically their salaries are going way, way above what they would make in a school district, and every district is finding that. But we'll continue to do that. We work pretty closely with Pacific and also the University of Oregon to try to recruit and get on their mailing lists and things like that. And we have a current SLP who is going to the Pacific. I think it's a recruitment, or she's going to talk to students about Forest Grove and to try to get some interest there.
Thank you.
Kim, I have a question. So is this money from special ed or ESSER or from the general fund?
It would be from the general fund, and it's money that's currently budgeted as full-time equivalent, but we would just transition it over to a contracted cost. So it's not an additional budget item.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Kim? All right. I will move to approve to spend up to $363,128 for 2.74 FTE speech language pathology positions that are vacant in the student services for the 2022-2023 school year. Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? I'll do a roll call vote. Brad?
Yes.
Narcy?
Yes.
And I'm a yes also. Motion is passed. And Kim, you're up next for another action item, the Youth Contact MOA.
Yes. So Youth Contact, we've brought this to the board before. They provide universal prevention for drugs and alcohol counseling services for students at Forest Grove High School and Neil Armstrong. As you probably are aware, they've had a really difficult time filling the 1.0 vacancy that we've had, which was a split between the high school and Neil Armstrong. They've tried really, really hard to recruit someone and haven't been able to do that, even with a different salary incentive. So they have decided to reduce that agreement to only a 1.0 for the following school year, which would be a reduction of 1.0 of youth contact workers. So the high school would be covered, but we really felt like Neil Armstrong also needed that coverage as well. So we, using some SIA money, we're actually going to be bringing it for your action to hire a youth contact, not a youth contact counselor, but a care coordinator that would help kind of build in those services and would be a permanent employee with our district and do some other pretty innovative things through behavioral health and wellness. So just if you're wondering how we're going to support Neil Armstrong and the stuff at Calc, then that's how we'd be doing that. So the total amount for next year would be $61,500 that would go to the youth contact. And I've attached the agreement there, which is pretty not very different from the last couple of years. And then you also can see their quarterly report that they do, which will tell you, how many how many students they've served, how many hours they've spent, just to give you an idea of what we're getting for that. It's really an invaluable partnership. It really provides students and families really good support. So we are asking the board to approve the 2022-2023 Youth Contact Memorandum of Agreement.
Any questions for Kim? Go ahead, Narcy.
I have one question, just to make sure I understood correctly.
Yeah.
Did I hear you say that there's thinking or planning for hiring our own drug and alcohol counselor or whatever the position might be, preventive of whatever it might be, for NAMS? Is that a 1 FTE for both NAMS and Calc?
So we've kind of had to do a redesign a little bit. We feel like the high school is pretty well covered. They have a care coordinator at the high school that's full-time. They also have the youth contact. We felt that NAMS was really that missing piece there. And the high school person, and also Calc has a counselor as well. So we did open up a care coordinator position, which is exactly the same as our high school position that we have a permanent employee in, as well as our K-8 or K-6 care coordinator. We were able to recruit, and we will be recommending for hire bilingual, bicultural care coordinator. And while she won't be able to do exactly what youth contact does, it's that family therapy that youth contact does that we can't really provide in district. She will be able to be that that liaison for community resources. And we're looking at a different kind of drug and alcohol prevention curriculum. And our behavioral health and wellness coordinator, Cassie Kenny, has been looking into that and working with the care coordinators on what that will look like for the following year.
Will all of that involve gathering input from the parents, in particular our Latinx parents? I just recently had lunch with Patricia Alvarado from Adelante Mujeres. We were just checking in, we do that twice a year, and she mentioned so I'm happy to hear what you just said, because she mentioned just in passing how needed it's in NAMS, in particular for bilingual services. So I'm just so delighted that you're all ahead of this. This is wonderful.
Yeah, we were really, really excited to get an applicant, and a very strong applicant. So, it's just one of those things where we really got lucky. So we're excited about that. And we're excited about doing some things to really align our systems. So this will help with that. And just keeping somebody and retaining them. I know youth contact has a hard time. It's that retention piece that it's really difficult.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, I will make a motion to approve the youth contact MOA as presented. Do I have a second?
I second.
Further discussion? We'll do a roll call vote. Narcy?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
And I'm a yes also. Motion passes. The next one is the Forest Grove High School walk-in cooler freezer replacement, and that's Eileen.
The district's seeking to replace the walk-in cooler freezer at the high school this summer. The current freezer has been turned off and isn't working any longer, nor is it repairable. The high school kitchen staff right now are utilizing temporary chest freezers for the meantime to be able to bridge the gap and get through the end of the school year. In reaching out to vendors, only 2 of the 4 vendors actually responded with the ability to complete the project and provided us with a quote. Commercial kitchen equipment and supplies, this quote is for $97,720. And then Arizona Restaurant Supply, this quote was for $99,048.55. Based on the pricing, the district is recommending that the board approve the purchase agreement and installation for the new high school cooler freezer with commercial kitchen equipment and supply. And this will be funded with remaining nutrition services funds.
Will this be done over the summer, Eileen?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions for Eileen? Okay. I will move to approve the Forest Grove High School cooler freezer replacement quote for $97,720 with commercial kitchen equipment and supply utilizing the Nutrition Service Fund balance reserves. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Further discussion? Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. I'm a yes. Brad?
Yes.
Did I leave something out?
No, I'm a
Okay.
yes, Kate. That's a 2 yes.
Okay, you get 2 votes. Narcy?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Dilley Elementary School HVAC replacement. Eileen, again, you've been a busy girl tonight.
Last one, I promise, for tonight. So the district's seeking to replace some old and inefficient HVAC rooftop units over at Dilley Elementary School. The new units would be high efficiency units that would have MERV 13 filtration system capabilities. Our current units are at the end of the life, not working efficiently and only have the MERV 18 capabilities. The district seeking to utilize an Omnia purchasing agreement. And at this time, they've completed the site evaluations, bidder walkthroughs, and provided us a cost with the project for the replacement of the HVAC units. It would be $81,645. And at this time, the district seeking board approval to award the contract to Train for $81,645 and to be funded with ESSER funds.
Any questions for Eileen? Okay. I'll make the last motion. I move to approve and award the contract for HVAC unit installation to Train for $81,645 and to be funded with district ESSER grant funds. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions? All right, roll call. Narcy,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
and I'm a yes also. The motion passes. Future board items. Do any board members have anything to share or add to the current list of future items? No? Okay. If there's no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 6:26 p.m. We did a great job going through that. Thank you, thank you. Have a good evening.
Now,
Good night.
Okay.
Good night.